Morning, everyone. This is Councilman Rasmussen coming to you with my update from our town council meeting last night, Monday, October 7th. We actually didn't have a ton of agenda items last night for things that we needed to discuss and vote on. But there are a bunch of updates on other things that I thought I would share, relevant information, some things that are coming up. So most people know, right, follow the town tidbits. It's a great way to get a lot of this. Some of this is information that's in the town tidbits, but I thought it might be a good opportunity to go through some of the operational updates that the town council members receive from the town staff. So at every one of our council meetings, the town manager puts together a little summary document that just has here's what's been going on in most of our departments. And there are a lot of projects and other things on there where we receive a quick update. Sometimes it's, just something is still in progress or we're waiting on something else. But I thought there'd be a few things here to share that I think people might be interested in. So I'm going to do that after I go over the couple of things that were on the agenda item for the council meeting, so you can at least know what those were. As I said, it was a relatively short agenda. We had no old business items that were discussed. The only new business item, and it's something we do every year, is setting the date and time for trick-or-treating. This is a thing that feels a little bit odd to me because you always went trick-or-treating on Halloween, but not every community chooses to do that. Some people like to do other things. So the town sets an official trick-or-treating time and date, which is October 31st, and it's from 5 to 8 p.m., though really, if you go out before or after that and people want to hand out candy, do whatever you want to. The one thing that I think is weird, and I did request that this be changed, we requested it be changed last year as well, is the old ordinance or resolution that we have has a line in it about the maximum age for trick-or-treating is 12 years old. I have no reason why that would be important, why the age of somebody trick-or-treating matters at all. If you are 13 years old and you have a great time going out trick-or-treating, I would rather have you doing that than something else. So we removed that language again this year, and with the request that it not be added in any years going forward. But that was really the only actual vote that the town council had last night, was to approve this little resolution. We did get some updates on a couple of different items from the mayor. He gave a quick update. There is this opioid settlement group that's run by the state. They are trying to figure out how to allocate resources to different communities that have been impacted by the opioid epidemic. Certainly that has impacted our town, our fire, our ambulance, our police departments. So trying to see how much we can get from some of those resources to come back and help support the increased costs and the drain. I mean, so some of this is targeted at equipment, right? Capital needs. How much wear and tear is there on police cars and fire trucks and ambulances responding to opioid overdoses? How much equipment is needed to purchase to be dealt with those things? There are real costs associated with this epidemic, and hopefully some of those resources can come back in and help offset some of those costs that we've borne for quite a long time. So he gave a quick update on that. He serves on that. And then there were a few little updates on a variety of other things going on. I serve on the town finance committee. We had our first finance budget meeting last month. We will have our second finance budget meeting at the end of this month. The town staff is working diligently to tweak as much as we can in the budget and put forward hopefully a budget. Ideally, we have a balanced budget that we present to the council and we approve in November of this year rather than March like we did last year. There are challenges in any budget season. Our costs have gone up for the town. Staffing costs, I think, are estimating something in the vicinity of a 6 or 7% increase across the board in staffing costs. We know that this year we have the unions for the town all negotiated new contracts over the last 2 years. I believe this is the second year of most of those contracts, and they all included significant or significant salary increases because honestly, we had underperforming salary rates, and no surprise, people want to be paid what they're worth. So we know we're going to see significant salary and staffing increases Hopefully we will not see the massive increases in health insurance costs that we did last year. That was something in the vicinity of, I believe, 21% or 27% increase in health insurance costs. So trying to integrate those things into the budget. We will have our second budget meeting at the end of this month with hopefully the first discussion of the budget at the town council meeting, the first meeting in November, which is November. I'm looking at my calendar, November 4th. So, other updates, I think, that are important. So one of the big ones coming up starting next week is bulk trash collection. So this is from the 14th through the 25th. If you have bulk items, these are things that you cannot put in your regular garbage can, or you do not want to schedule a separate pickup. You can put these out on the street, and the town staff. This isn't waste management coming around and picking this up. This is the town staff using a town truck. We're going to come around and pick up those items. It can sometimes take a few days for things to get out to you. The staff is going around the town diligently in like quadrants trying to check everything and make sure we get things as quick as possible. This is also something that, as I mentioned in a previous thing, the cost of doing this to the town has increased dramatically, multiple times over what we used to pay in dumping fees. So when we pick something up, we have to take it to the transfer station in our garbage truck and then pay the fee by pound to dispose of that. We are looking at over $100,000 increase in the cost to provide this service for our community. People are throwing away more stuff, I guess, or they've been holding on to things that they're getting rid of, but our costs for this year have gone up dramatically. Now we're budgeting for that for last year. We had to do a budget amendment to add more money into that section of our budget for this year because it has gone up so much. So that's a challenge for the town, but it's a service that people really typically like. So if you have your bulk items, make sure between the 14th and the 25th, you get those out on the street so we can get them picked up. You're also going to see leaf collection starting up. So the vacuum truck is going to be starting to come around. If you've got leaves, you need to rake those out to the street. Do not put them in bags. Do not put them in your yard waste collection bin. Rake them out to the street, and the leaf collection, the vacuum truck will come around and vacuum them up. Again, it's not going to happen probably the day you do it. Just make sure you get them out there, and we will get around and we will get stuff collected. So I think that's a big one. The water tower on the north side of town. Most of the final work for that has been completed. The electric connections have finally been done. There's still a little bit of site work to be done, and it's in testing. So pretty soon that water tower will be coming online and will be starting to service water to the north side of our community. It takes a long time to get through that. I think some people remember mentioning DelDOT. We had some issues. We had to put in even larger sidewalks and things like that needed to be changed. But almost all of that work up there is done. So you'll see less work going on there, and it'll start coming into operations. There's the end of last month. I've mentioned this as well as one of our capital items. This is a big one. We need a new well site and water treatment plant. This is for water that services all of the houses and businesses in the town. We are looking for a site for that. It's sort of tricky. We've got to find potential locations we can purchase, do test wells at those locations to make sure that the water quality and the things are what we need it to be. And then ultimately there's a many $1 million capital investment in order to put in a new well house. One of our well houses, well house number 1, is getting pretty old. We know that we need more capacity, and we know that well house number 1 at some point will probably have to come offline at some point. So we've been testing and looking for it. We did another test at a site the end of October. We're waiting on the results for that to see whether or not that would be a potential good location. Once we find that location, then there's a very lengthy process. It takes multiple years to be able to put in a municipal well and then build a water treatment facility. So there's a lot there, but that's something that is ongoing, and that's something that our staff is working on. There's a number of subdivisions and developments that are sort of in process, Centerville and Graceville out on Rabbit Chase Lane. All of those are things mostly we're waiting on the developers to send us their plans to move through the final approval process. So those things move along pretty slowly, honestly. If you've been down Commerce Street and Locust Street, most of the work there is done. I know there's still little bits and pieces of things that need to be done, but the paving is done. Most of the work is done at this point. I think obviously people are much happier about that. Everything takes longer than we wish it would, but they're now there. The asphalt's nice and smooth right now. Go drive on it. It's fun. So those are a few of the updates that we got that I thought people might want to hear a little bit about. I'll try and grab a couple out of the update each time to share that. There was something on our we also received an update on I'm pulling it up right now, the electric rates. And so, we're part of DMEC, the municipal cooperative. There's 11 other members that are part of DMEC. We have the chance to sort of compare and see what their rates are and looking at how we perform compared to other municipalities in the state. And every quarter or so we get an update that says, here's how all the DMEC members look. Everyone likes to complain that our electric is too expensive, though most people have no reference or point of reference for that. But we do, out of the 11 towns, we are basically in the middle. We're number 5 out of 11 as far as what our electric rates look like that are part of the DMEC cooperative. It's something that we obviously try and keep a hold of as much as possible. We don't want to be the most expensive electric in the area, but we also can't afford to be the cheapest. So we get this little thing. It'd be hard for you to see it, but it's a residential rate comparison, and it sort of shows where we stand compared to our average costs for a household compared to the other municipalities that are all part of the cooperative. Right now, we're number 5. The residential average electric bill is $126.61, and that is between Milford and Clayton that are $119 and $131. We're relatively close to some of our neighbors. The highest is up at Delmarva. The lowest is Newcastle, but it's a useful comparison. We are a little bit above the overall average, but we're below a number of other folks. So just so you can sort of see where we're at, I can happily share this information. Most people don't get the chance to see this, though it is something that we do publish up and make available for people. And it's on, I think they publish this on the DMEC website as well, if you ever wanted to see it there. So just another piece of information for you there. That's most of what I wanted to talk about for this. We did have, as far as like town operational things, last night, probably the thing that took up the majority of the actual meeting, which only lasted like 40 minutes, was a discussion, a presentation and conversation around the Smyrna skate park. So this ended up in the news, so I think most people have heard about this a little bit. The town began to tear down portions of the skate park. The skate park that we have is, while small, and I take my kids out there to go drive RC cars. It's nice, but it is past its lifespan, unfortunately. The equipment that was purchased 20-ish years ago had an expected lifespan of about 15 years, and it has gotten beat up. It has gotten in fairly bad shape, and at some point it needs to be removed because it becomes insurance issues and safety issues. Unfortunately, that conversation didn't happen as publicly as it probably should have, and when the town started removing that, I was unaware that the town was going to start removing it. It obviously created a pretty big backlash, and the community of people here who enjoy the skate park rightfully, I think, got a little bit upset that something that was a resource to them and a resource to the rest of the community was being taken away. So they, a number of folks came out last night to speak about the importance of skating, the physical, the mental, the emotional support that goes into that community, or that comes out of that community for the people who participate in it. And this is something that I feel very, very strongly about. I think skate parks are fantastic places, and we need more and we need better of them. There's also real costs associated with it. To replace the equipment in that skate park is something probably around $120,000, roughly 4 times or so what it cost to put it in 20 years ago. And you know, as much as we like the idea of, hey, we can go out and build something, or, you know, kids could build something and have it as this community thing, that you need engineered stamped drawings, and you need all of the insurance certifications on that equipment, or else it becomes a massive liability for the town. And unfortunately, lawyers and insurance companies dictate far too much of what we end up able to do in public spaces like this. So there was a good conversation. It was very civil. It was, you know, here's what we would like to see, and we want to work together. And I think that was a great approach. And I was very happy to see such a large number of people come out to speak about it and support it. I would love to see something happen. You know, I think I've mentioned the town budget so many times. It is a major area of cause and concern about the future long-term health. So carving out $120,000 out of the budget when we've got major things like water treatment plants and things that we need to be planning for, I think is hard. But if people come together and work together to find funding and figure out how to make things work, I think that gets a lot more done. It hopefully creates a lot more community buy-in. So I know that there are folks are planning on attending the Parks and Rec Committee, hopefully getting more involved in that. You know, we talk again. A thing I've mentioned a lot of times is we don't hear a lot from people. The people who show up to the council meetings is a small group of people, and it tends to be the same folks. When we held the planning meetings for the Master Parks Plan, the first public meeting and the survey responses and all of those things that we got were mostly the same people who show up for those other meetings, and they tend to be older. They tend to be from downtown. They tend to be not terribly representative of the entirety of our community. So we held other meetings in the middle school and the high school specifically to get feedback from people in those communities to make sure that we had as many voices as possible. But that doesn't mean every voice gets heard, because the town can only put out so much information, ask people to attend so many times, ask people to fill out a survey so many times. There's no way to reach everybody. We can't go door to door to every single house and ask people to come. It's just not feasible. So when a plan gets made, it's the people in the room that get heard. And if you're not in the room, if you're not actively paying attention and being an advocate for your needs in your community, sometimes that means that it falls to the side. And that's, I think, something that you could say happens in this situation. When we did the prioritizing for what people wanted to see in the park, skate park was pretty low on that list, because we didn't have a lot of people show up to advocate for the skate park, who put that as a high priority when we were ranking items. And that doesn't mean that it's not really, really important to a significant group of people, but when voices are, when you're collecting information, the voices that get heard are the voices that respond to it. So hopefully seeing this and this little bit of this issue, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's an opportunity for a group of people who are very passionate to get more engaged in our community. The town and this group can work together and build something that's even better in the long run. But, unfortunately, it didn't start in that way. It started with communication not happening the way it should, and it started with people upset. From that, sometimes you can come up with better things and people can work together, and I'm hoping that that's the situation that it was. And last night, I think, was a good indication, because it was very civil. It wasn't people yelling and screaming. It was talking about the importance of this and asking for help and offering help. So I really like that. So those, I think, were the big items from last night. Again, not a lot of meetings stuff. The next council meeting, hopefully in November, we will see the first budget. So there'll be a lot more budget conversation in my updates for the next couple of meetings as we work through those. And then we'll have some, there'll be the normal little operational things and stuff like that. But remember, follow the town tidbits. There's tons of stuff there. Go on the town website, visit the events page. There's tons of stuff there. There's lots of things coming up. for the fall. Councilwoman Gott gave an update. She probably touched on a fifth of the things that are happening in this community all over. So you can find that stuff there. Come on out, get engaged, have a great time. If you're around on Saturday and you're going to Belmont Hall for the Revolutionary War reenactment, this will be the second annual of that. I'll be out there with that for my kids for at least a few minutes. I think last year they found sticks and started sword fighting. So, but thanks as always. If you have questions, if there's anything I can help, please reach out. I'm always happy to respond to civil requests. And take care.